We're going to start by laying the foundations of our very basic front end design. And by this, I mean looking at fonts. We're going to look at including variables within Sass so we can reference these within our other files. And we're going to look at things like background colors as well. And we'll create a very simple wrapper for our page. We're not using any frameworks here. We could, of course, use a framework like Foundation or Bootstrap, but we're just going to be keeping these things really, really simple on a component level. So the first thing that I'm going to do then is over in my text editor, I'm going to pull in a font that I want to use. And to do this, I'm going to use Google Fonts. Of course, you can pull in any font you want from any source. It really doesn't matter how you do this because we're going to be defining the font name in exactly the same way. So I'm going to be using Open Sans. It's a really nice font to use. If you do want to use Google Fonts, just go through and select the options you want here. And then you can go and copy this link here to the style sheet. I already have one prepared because I don't like the format of this. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste this over into here. So it looks like that. So it's just link with a rel attribute style sheet and then the href here. And I'm pulling in 300, 400 and 600 font weights. So remember, we have our CSS file linked in here that's going to be generated using the Sass command on the command line. We have app.scss, which doesn't contain anything at the moment. I've removed what we saw in the last video. And inside of CSS, this directory is currently empty. So what we want to do then is we want to start structuring our assets or styles directory to include things like the base framework for our front-end styles. And also we want another folder that's going to hold things like variables, which we're going to be looking at in this video, and things like mix-ins and placeholders in the future. So let's create a new folder called base. And inside of here, we're going to create a new file that's going to hold all of our application variables. You could, of course, split this file up, but I find it's quite helpful to have them all in one file just for easy finding. Now, with any Sass includes, we prepend these with an underscore. And that way we can just easily import them using our main app.scss file. So I'm just going to call this variables.scss. So it's underscore and then the name of the file that you want. So what we need to define in here are things like the background color for the body text color, the font family, the font size, the line height, link colors, anything like that. And that way, if anything changes, we can just come over to this file, change it, and it's just updated. Now, of course, for the body background color, this is just going to be one property on one selector anyway. But as we progress through the series, you'll see that giving variables or creating variables in this file means that you can just adjust the whole look and feel of your components with just changes of variables. So let's say we create our global style variables here. The first thing we want to define is the body background color. So for this, I'm going to say EDEFF0, which is a nice light gray color. We're going to set the body text color here. So we're going to choose that. I'm going to do 222, so just off black. We're going to set the font family. Now, because we've pulled in Google Fonts, Open Sans with Google Fonts, we can just say Open Sans here. And obviously for this, we have a sans serif fallback. We can set the body font size. In my case, this is just going to be set to 100%. And we're also going to set the body line height as well, so 150%. So we've got these, and we need to now work out how we actually use them. So we've not created a file that's going to house selectors like our body selector. So what we want to do then is create a new folder in here, and I tend to call this framework. If you are using a framework like Foundation, this will all be done for you. You can change variables within Foundation. But in our case, I'm just going to have a global file in here, which is going to do things like set the fonts, the body background, and anything like that. So I'm going to call this global.scss. So in here then we just write, CSS as normal as such, and we just define the properties we want in here. So font family is going to be body font family. The font size we set as a variable as well. That's body font size. We have a background color to our page, which is body BG color. We have a text color to our page, which is body text color. And we have our line height. And then we are going to set the margins to 0, just so our navigation can eventually sit at the top. So let's also set our link colors as well, and then we'll start to hook all this together and see how we run our Sass command again, just to generate all of this. So for our links then, we're just going to say link color, and I'm just going to set this to black, and I'm going to set the link weight to 600, like so. So obviously you can get a little bit more advanced here and use pseudo selectors and things like that. But for now, all I'm going to do in here is just say anchor. I'm going to set the color to link color and the font weight to link weight. But you can obviously chop and change this and make it a little bit nicer. So now that we've got our global.scss file with this with these styles in, we've got our variables that are holding our variables, we want to import them into this main file, because remember the app.scss file is the file that we're going to be compiling from. So to do this we use import, and then all we do is we choose the name of the directory if we are storing within a directory, and then we choose the name of the file. So for example, to import our variables, we go into the base directory and we import variables. Now notice I haven't added an underscore here. That's because Sass knows that this is an include file, so it will recognize it as such. So you don't need to give the exact name. You don't need to give an extension either. It will pick all this up for you. So what we'll also do then is we will import framework global, and now we can start compiling. So remember, we run Sass watch, and then we choose the name of the file for the input, and then the name of the file for the output. So in this case then, we are going into assets, styles, and we're compiling app.scss, and we want this to go into public css app.css. So that's now watching for changes, so whatever changes we make here, that's going to be updated. And notice we also have our app.css file generated for us, and you can see all of the variable values have been placed in the correct position, and we are pretty much good to go. So now when I go and refresh this page, we see our background color and all of the other styles there as well. So just out of interest, if you do want to compress this file a little bit more, minify it as such, we do have an option to do this. So let's just come out of our Sass command and let's just run Sass H again. And if we just scroll up a little bit, we can see here that we have this output style here. So we can say style, and then we can have nested, which is default. We can have compact, compressed, or expanded. So let's go for the compressed option. So we'll rerun this command. But this time we will provide style compressed. So let's just save this file, go into app.css, and you can see that's all been compressed into a nice one line, just to save a little bit of space. So now that we are watching this file for changes, we can go on and finish the rest of this part of the series. So I'm going to add to my framework folder here, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this layout.scss. Now this is entirely up to you how you sort of lay your site out. It really doesn't matter. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to create a basic wrapper. So I'm going to have 100% width on this. I'm going to have a max width of 800 pixels. So this will sit by a default of 800 pixels, but it will also be responsive as well. And I'm going to set the padding to 0 on the top and bottom and 20 pixels on the left and the right. So now that we've done that, we can update our app.scss file. We can pull in layout, save that, and we have that in here now. So we've got our wrapper in our app.css file. So we can update our index page and include a div with the class of wrapper with content just going in here. So this will sit below the navigation that we'll be creating at the top a bit later. Okay, so we're pretty much done for this part. We've laid out the basics of our page in terms of creating the global styles for our body and anchors. We've created a very basic wrapper just for the purpose of this video, and we've also learned about how to create and use variables within Sass.